Now we're going to talk about dividing decimals. When you divide decimals, the most important thing to remember is that when you move one decimal, the other decimal moves as well. And the way I have my kids remember in class do this is when you move your hands, see how they're staying the same distance apart? That's what's important when you're moving decimals. Seems silly, but it gets it through. So let's say that we have 1.2 divided by 2. First, we don't even need to move the decimal here because the decimal is all the way at the very end of the number because it wasn't even in there. So we're just going to move this decimal all the way up to the top and then divide like normal. 2 goes into 12 6 times. 6 times 2 is 12. Subtract and you get your answer. So our answer is 0.6. Let's try one where you actually have to move the decimal. Let's try 3 24/100 divided by 5/10. Now what this is going to look like is it should look like this. And now what we have to do is we have to get that decimal point all the way over as close to the division sign as possible. So we're going to have to move this decimal point one spot. Because our little hand motion tells us that the decimals have to stay the same distance apart, because this decimal point has moved, we also have to move this decimal point one spot. So our decimal point is now here, so we're going to move this up to the top. That's where our decimal point is in our answer. Now we're going to divide like normal. 5 doesn't go into 3, but we do know that 5 goes into 32 6 times. 6 times 5 is 30. We're left over with 2. Now I'm going to drag this 4 down. 5 goes into 24 4 times. 4 times 5 is 20. We're left with a 4. Now, you're not done yet because you have a number down here. Don't turn it into a fraction. You've already started a decimal answer, so we're going to finish this the decimal way. Add an invisible 0 at the end. That's always there, but it's just not visible most of the time. Then go ahead and pull it down. 5 goes into 40 8 times. 5 times 40 is 8, so you get 0. Your final answer is 6 and 48/100. Let's take a look at one more. We'll try to keep it a little bit more straight on the board this time. If we have 542 divided by 0.11, we're going to set up the problem again. 542 goes on the inside. 11/100 goes on the outside. First thing we have to do is we have to take care of this decimal point. So, to get this decimal point all the way over next to the division sign, we have to move it twice. 1, 2. So we also have to move this decimal point twice. The trick is there's no decimal point that's visible here. Just like when you're reading a sentence and you get to the end of the sentence, there's a period. Because there's no visible decimal, the decimal is hiding out at the end of the number, just like a period. So because we've moved this once, twice, we're going to move this once, twice. So we're going to extend out our line, add those invisible zeros, then we're going to send this decimal all the way up to the top. And make sure you don't confuse this line for a number 1, because it's not. That's just moving the decimal up. And if you choose not to put that line, that works for you too. Now we have to figure out how many times 11 goes into 54. 11 goes into 54. Well, we know it's not 5 times because 5 times 11 is 55. So let's try 4. 4 times 11 is 44. We end up with 1, 0, so we end up with 10. We're going to drag down this 2. Now we have to figure out how many times 11 goes into 102. We know that 9 times 11 is 99, which is probably the closest we're going to get, so let's go ahead and give that a shot. We're going to do our borrowing. 10 becomes 9, 12, we end up with 3. Not finished yet, so we're going to have to go ahead and pull this decimal down. 11 goes into 30 how many times? Well, 11 is probably going to go into 30 twice. 2 times 11 is 22. We end up with 8. Pull down the next 0. What we're going to end up with is we're going to end up with 7, because 7 times 11 is 77. Excuse me, I should have put that 0 there. 77. 80 minus 77 is going to be 3. I'm running out of room here, so I'm just going to kind of move it up to right here. I'm not done yet, so what I have to do is I have to add another invisible 0. And on your loose leaf paper, you'll definitely have more room, but I'm running out. So we have 30. 11 goes into 30 2 times. 2 times 11 is 22. We end up with 8. Let's pull down another invisible 0. 11 goes into 80 7 times. 11 times 7 is 77. And what you're probably seeing here now is a pattern. 30 minus 22, 80 minus 77, 3, 27, 27. This will go on forever. So rather than waste the rest of your life watching this video with a division problem that goes on forever, we're just going to put a line over the 27. That means that the 27 will keep repeating on and on and on and on and on and will never stop. If you just put a line over the 7, that only means it's the 7. So that would mean 0.277777. That's not what we're looking for. So make sure the line goes over all the numbers you want to repeat and none of the numbers that you don't want to repeat.